Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always, told out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to take a look at a whole bunch of lovely new cards from Lost Abyss or Lost Origin, because they're all going to be in Lost Origin. This is a very big update, ladies and gentlemen. We got like 20 cards we need to be having a little bit of a look at here, and some of these look really good. So yeah, huge update, lots of new cards. Let's get rolling. Translation from the lovely Antoine Boulet, the lovely Joe over at Cerebi.net, and the lovely me. That's where these translations are from. So starting off, we've got a Venomoth here, which 2 energy, 70 damage is terrible. And single energy, 30 damage, flip a coin. If heads, choose a special condition. The defending Pokemon is affected by that special condition. Good in theory, but way too weak for a stage 1. I don't like it. There is a new Durant coming here, and 2 energy, 50 damage is terrible. And you get to search your deck for up to 2 basic energy for 1 colorless energy and put them into your hand. If this was attaching them, I would be all in favour of this new Durant, but it's not. You're literally just searching out 2 energy. That is not good enough to waste your attack on. Now there is a new Ninetales here for a single energy. Sleep. Yeah, I'm not even kidding, right? It's a stage 1, and it's not a free attack, and it's literally sleep. I've double checked it myself. It's literally just sleep. That is terrible. But for 2 energy, 120 damage, this Pokemon can't attack during your next turn. I don't know why they bothered to make this card. I mean, fine, okay. If you're hitting for weakness, it's that usual thing where you'll get a 1-hit KO on a Pokemon V, and with a choice bout, you'll get a 1-hit KO on a Pokemon V-Star. That's like the best I can tell you here. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, this Ninetales, not good. There is a new Talonflame coming, and obviously there's always a fairly high bar for stage 2s to be good. Does this reach it? Well, we've got single energy, 50 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. Love the single energy, but 50 damage doesn't KO the majority of evolving Pokemon, and it's a stage 2. And then we've got single fire energy, 80 damage. If your opponent's active already has any damage on it, you deal 160. 160 for 1 energy on a stage 1? Yes. 160 for 1 energy on a stage 2? Your 220 is what you need to get a Pokemon V most of the time. So you're telling me I've got to put 60 damage on and then my stage 2 can get a KO? Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, doesn't reach the bar. Now, moving on, we've got ourselves an Araquanid, a Pokemon I've always been fairly fond of, so I'm hoping this one can be rather lovely. Can it? Not really, no. For 2 energy, you do 60 damage. Not good. For 1 energy, you do 20 damage. Flip a coin. If heads, paralysis. And discard an energy. Now look, I like this, okay? I do. But it's on a stage 1 and you only do 20 damage. I love the flip a coin if heads paralysis. I love that you discard an energy while doing the paralysis. But I don't like that you're only doing 20 damage on a stage 1 Pokemon. I think you could have some fun with this one, but I don't think we can realistically turn this into a realistic deck. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I just don't think we can. Now, Lantern's always held a special place in my heart because I played Lantern at my first ever Nationals. What have we got? Single energy, 30 damage. Yeah, let's all get excited about that. Or free energy, 160 damage. Discard 2 energy from this Pokemon. Brilliant. And here's the thing, right? You're not even 1-hit KOing weak Pokemon V. You've got to get a choice bout to KO the weak Pokemon like Luminion. And yes, I know Luminion's a bad example because Luminion is in fact weak to lightning, so you will KO Luminion, but you've got to rely on the weakness. Crobat, there you go. Crobat's not weak. You need a choice bout to go and get a KO. My point is, if I'm putting free energy on a stage 1 Pokemon and discarding 2 of them, I expect to at least be able to KO weak support Pokemon V, but I can't, and that makes me a little bit sad. Now, a Moga comes in here with lovely so-so artwork, which I know a lot of people are going to love. 2 energy, 40 damage people are not going to love. and single energy, search your deck for an item card and put it into your hand. I mean, if I wasn't impressed by Durant searching out 2 energy, I think the chances of me being impressed by this is not high. What I will say is, if you've had an absolutely horrendous start, this is a basic Pokemon with free retreat that for 1 colorless energy can search you an item card that gets out of it, which is nice, but I think that's the best we can say. Now, weirdly enough, we have already looked at Electric. Electric was one of those Pokemon we looked at the other day because it was one of the promos we saw from the new gym promo pack. It was an alternate art version of it. We actually saw that the other day, which is cool. I liked it then, I like it now. When you evolve into it, you flip a coin if heads paralysis, especially before Scoop Up Net rotates, which we now know is not going to be until at least the beginning of next year. I actually do quite like this attack. Go team! As for the ability, I should say. As for the Electros, which we haven't talked about and is new, single energy 10 damage, clearly garbage. But during your next turn, this Pokemon's attacks do 120 more. Oh. And then for 2 energy, you do 160 and discard 2 energy. So the deal is this. If you can somehow attack with this Pokemon, the first attack, and it doesn't get KO'd, because that will ruin things, and it doesn't get put back to your bench, because that will reset it, then what you do here is hit 120 plus 160, which is 280, which is enough to one-hit KO any Pokemon V-Star. If you can attack with this and stay in the active and survive, one-hit KO on a Pokemon V-Star. But firstly, that's a lot to ask, and secondly, you're a stage 2, so sorry ladies and gentlemen, no. Now, one that we should be getting excited about is Sableye. Sableye is legit, and it's not for the single energy 20 damage garbage, no. But for 1 psychic energy, this attack can only be used when there are 10 or more cards in your loss zone. Place 12 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon in any way you like. And from all the cards we've looked at in this set so far, it's actually not that difficult to get 10 cards in your loss zone. So actually, yeah. If you're playing any kind of, like Giratina needs 10 cards in your loss zone. So if you're playing any kind of deck, which revolves around getting cards in the loss zone, this is like legit phenomenal. Dropping 12 damage counters for a single energy against an evolution deck, if they're not set up before Sableye's on board, i.e. before you've got 10 cards in the loss zone, they just can't set up. This Sableye in any loss zone focused deck, this Sableye is absolutely, completely and utterly brutal. Nice. Is Slurpuff? No. 3 energy, 100 damage is terrible. 2 energy, 30 damage isn't enough. Heal 30 isn't enough. So you're a stage 1 Pokemon that doesn't deal enough damage or heal enough damage. That ain't going to cut it, ladies and gentlemen. That ain't going to cut it. Now, we do have a new Indeedy, and the 2 energy, 40 damage we're not even going to talk about. But 1 energy, colorless, if you go first, you can use this attack during your first turn, search your deck for any card and put it into your hand. And look, in a world where people legitimately use Snorlax as a turn 1 option, draw you till you got 7 cards in hand and then it ends your turn, why would we not also use this? Now, admittedly, it's because you got to attach an energy to it, so it's not quite the same, but you go first, you can use this, and then guarantee you got the perfect card for turn 2. Like Sableye, this is, well, now it's not as good as Sableye, let's be clear, but this is still one that I could see seeing a bunch of play. Now, I've always been a fan of Hawlucha. There is actually a little Hawlucha model on my desk as I'm recording every video. Sits right behind my Mamoswine plush. And the artwork on here is amazing. I'm not pausing for dramatic effect. That is about the most we can see. And actually, it's TZero again. I'm finding myself often going, oh, that artwork's good. And it turns out it's TZero. They might be like one of my favorites. Anyway, single energy, draw 2 cards is fine, but we've seen that on better Pokemon. 2 energy, 30 damage, flip 2 coins, 20 more for each heads. Even if you hit double heads, you're doing 70 damage for 2 energy. That's not good enough. Even in the 1 in 4 turns where you hit double heads, it's still not good enough. That's bad, ladies and gentlemen. That's bad. Now, we do have a Crocodile coming in here quite nicely. And what we've got for Crocodile is free energy 160, 30 to yourself. I mean, like I've said, we're talking a stage 2, free energy, and you're not getting a one-hit KO on weak support Pokemon V? Nah. But the ability says, when you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, and when this Pokemon is your active Pokemon and is knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack, you may discard a random card from your opponent's hand. So basically, if you're active and they attack you, discard a card from their hand, but also when you evolve into it, discard a card from their hand. This is pretty nice hand disruption, I'll be honest with you. I should say it has to be knocked out and it has to be active in order to get rid of a card. Realistically, like, the best case scenario here is discarding 2 cards from their hand. It's probably only going to be 1. I'm sure there are some control decks that can really specifically make use of this, but this ability is just not going to fire often enough. Now, there is a Toxipex coming, which is actually kind of relevant because I believe it's the first time we've ever seen a Darkness type Toxipex. It's the first one that is Poison type since Poison became Darkness. And what we've got here is free energy, 90 damage, nobody cares. But single energy, if your opponent's active Pokemon is poisoned, you deal 120 more. That's not bad. 130 for a single energy? They have got to be poisoned though, which makes things an awful lot more difficult. So I'm not absolutely loving it, but there is definitely a little bit of potential here. Now, Ferroforne is back in this set with a brand new lovely Stage 1 Pokemon. No translations needed here. 2 energy 50, free energy 130 on a Stage 1 Pokemon. I'm not giving that card any more time. So Galarian Stunfisk then. This one's interesting. Because 2 energy 50 damage, no, nobody cares. But what we do have here is an attack for a single energy that if your opponent has a stadium in play, and it's your opponent, not if there is, discard it. And if you discard a stadium this way, discard 2 energy from your opponent's active. Basically, if you're looking for like really spiteful stadium hate, this is it. Because you deal 20 damage, that doesn't really matter, that's not why we're interested. But you also get to discard the stadium and 2 energy from your opponent's active. At which point they're just going to be like, well, I'm not playing a stadium because you're going to use that Galarian Stunfisk and that's going to really annoy me. And anytime your opponent, I've said this many times, anytime your opponent is deliberately not doing something that they usually would do to try and stop you doing something that you would do if they did it, that's a win for you, ladies and gentlemen. That's a win for you. Now, Spinder is a sneaky, interesting card here. I like this way more than I should. For a single energy, it does 10 damage to all of your opponent's Pokemon, and then your opponent's active Pokemon is confused. I kind of like this. It's basic Pokemon, single colorless energy. Spreading 10 damage isn't great, but that can really make the difference in some games, and you get to confuse them as well. Like, the standard single energy 20 damage confusion that we see on basic Pokemon is fine. This is way better than that, and it's all Spinder does, and it's only got 90 HP, and blah, 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 don't care. I genuinely like this Spinder. I think it's a really good card. It's one that I can get behind. Now, Albany is another colorless Pokemon we see, and what we've got is single energy 30 damage, free energy, flip 2 coins, 100 for each heads. And yes, I know 100 is a fairly big number, but another way to put it is, if you put free energy on a weak stage 1 Pokemon and flip double heads, you still need a choice bout to KO most Pokemon V. And that's where it ends for me, right? That's where the excitement's gone. Once we get to that stage, I'm like, nah. There's nothing about that gets me interested. Now, Bouffalant has got that lovely stuff all around the card, so you know it interacts with a Lost Zone in some way. 4 energy, 120 when you can never hit for weakness is bad. But free energy, 50 damage, wait for it. Put an energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon into the Lost Zone. It's only 1. And I think that's what ruins it for me. Because I actually really like lost zoning your opponent's energy. And the 50 damage isn't a deal breaker for me. But I think the 1 energy is. I want to be using this to just run my opponent out of energy. But I do worry that 1 energy isn't enough. And 50 damage isn't enough. And we're just going to end up wishing we'd done a little bit more. Now, moving from Pokemon into supporters and energy, we've got one of each. We've got Fantina coming in with a lovely supporter card here. You can only use it if you have 10 or more cards in the Lost Zone. During your opponent's next turn, your Pokemon, including Pokemon you play after this card, take 120 less damage from your opponent's Pokemon V. If you're looking for some kind of tanking deck, this is legit. I really, really like this. Now, again, you got to have 10 cards in your Lost Zone, but like we talked about with Sableye, that is not a deal breaker. And honestly, there are going to be plenty of times where this card basically says your opponent can't get a KO turn they need to and you win the game. And that's why I really like this card. And then we finish off with Gift Energy. It's a colorless energy, but if the Pokemon this card is attached to is knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack, draw cards until you have 7 cards in hand. It's fine. In single prize decks that use colorless energy, I really like this. There aren't that many of them, annoyingly, but, you know, it's got its uses. I don't think it's phenomenal by any stretch of the imagination, but I think there are some cards, some decks that are going to be able to make use of it. And there we go, ladies and gentlemen. I promised you lots of new cards. I gave you lots of new cards. This is it, basically. And certainly in terms of Lost Origin, this is basically the end of the cards we should expect to be seeing. I think we had 21 new cards in the end in this video. So yeah, I'm down with this. And some of these are really good. That Sableye is absolutely legit. I think that Fatima could be a really, really good card. I'm a big fan of Spinder personally. There are some in here that you should be taking seriously. But I want to hear from you guys. I want to know what you think about this. I want to know anything you want to tell me about any of these cards or anything else Pokemon related or honestly anything related. So let me know in the comment section, would you? Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.